Before the start of this Knicks-Celtics series, nobody was really giving the Knicks a realistic chance to win. And this is because during the regular season, these teams matched up 4 times. The Celtics won all 4 games, and 3 of those wins were done in very convincing fashion. However, New York has shocked everybody and won the first 2 games in Boston to take a 2-0 series lead. And this isn't one of those situations where Boston has just been playing horrible basketball, handing these wins to New York on a silver platter. New York has actually been deserving of these wins, and I want to talk about how they've taken a 2-0 series lead in this video. So the main thing that I'm going to talk about in this video is defense. This series through 2 games has been very defensive-minded. Game 1, New York won 108-105, but that game went to overtime. And then Game 2 was 91-90, so very low scoring from both teams, very good defense from both teams. But in my opinion, I really like the Knicks' defensive strategy, and I like it more than the Celtics' defensive strategy. If you've watched the Celtics play at all this season, you know that they really like to put up threes. They led the league in 3-pointers made and 3-pointers attempted this season, and that's because they have the personnel to shoot a lot of threes. In lineups where they have Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and then either Porzingis or Al Horford at the 5, you would have 5 capable 3-point shooters on the floor at one time, and also multiple guys who can put the ball on the floor, drive to the rim, and just cause the defense to collapse once they get into the paint. This play is a perfect example of what the Celtics are looking for offensively. Tatum drives to the rim and dishes it to Drew Holiday, and when the Knicks defense collapses, he's able to kick it out to Derek White for an open 3. And with the Knicks being just the 13th ranked defense during the regular season, and having defenders like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns who the Celtics could reasonably try to exploit in many people's minds, people just figured that Boston would be able to get whatever they wanted, get tons of opportunities driving to the rim, getting into the paint, and then kicking out to shooters. But instead, everybody on the Knicks has been playing great defense, including Brunson and Towns, and this has allowed the Knicks to play a switch-heavy defense and really stagnate the Celtics offense and eliminate easy driving lanes. And then when the Celtics have tried to drive the basketball, New York has done a great job of being disciplined and knowing that the Celtics want to drive and kick out to the 3-point line. I think this is a perfect example of their strategy being implemented correctly. Here the Celtics get the switch they want of Cat onto Jaylen Brown, but Towns plays good defense. Bridges provides some help to make him uncomfortable, but he anticipates Brown kicking out to the 3-point line and steals the pass. Then to add insult to injury, the Celtics don't communicate running back on defense, and OG is able to sneak behind everyone and get an and-one dunk. So the Knicks' strategy in this series has just been to take away easy 3-point looks for the Celtics, and they've been able to do that by just executing flawless rotations, communication, switches, and just not allowing Boston to get any clean looks from 3. And then when that strategy has caused the Celtics offense to stagnate and resort to iso ball, New York has played great individual defense from everybody that stepped on the floor. Here's a play right here where OG fights through 2 screens to stay with Jason Tatum, and then when he gets back in front of him, he plays great defense and doesn't allow Jason Tatum to get off an easy look. Now, in the case of the Celtics' defensive strategy, something they've opted to do is disrespect Josh Hart as a shooter. And the way they've done this is by putting Porzingis or Al Horford on him, and having those guys really sag off and provide extra help at the rim. And even though the Celtics lost Game 1, that strategy seemed like it could work going forward in the series. Josh Hart shot just 1 for 5 from 3 in Game 1, and because the lane was really clogged, Cat and Jalen Brunson really struggled to score inside the arc. In Game 2, though, this same strategy really backfired. The thing with Josh Hart is that it's not like he's one of these guys who is just not capable of knocking down threes. He's just very hesitant at times and lacking confidence even when he is open at the 3-point line. The thing is, though, I think the Knicks have really been imploring Josh Hart to be more confident shooting the 3. In the playoffs, during the first 3 games of that series against Detroit, Josh Hart shot just 1.3 3-point attempts per game. However, in the final 3 games of that series against Detroit and the first 2 games of this series against Boston, Josh Hart has been shooting 4.2 threes per game and hitting 42.9% of his threes. And in Game 2 versus the Celtics, Hart shot 3 for 6 from 3 and had 23 points. And because the Celtics were putting bigs like Horford or Porzingis on him most of the time, that left smaller players trying to guard Cat, and he was able to get these easy offensive putbacks. There were moments where guys like Drew Holiday or Derek White were matched up on him, and he just shot over them because they can't even contest his shot at all. So even though the Celtics were able to hold Brunson to just 17 points on 6 of 19 shooting, the guy they were trying to disrespect in Josh Hart had 23 points, and then the other Knicks All-Star ended up having 21 points and 17 rebounds. And my fear with Boston sticking with this strategy is that in one of these games in New York, Josh Hart has another game where he's hitting his threes. Cat is getting on the offensive glass over smaller defenders, also shooting over smaller defenders. And then on top of that, Jalen Brunson could be due for a big night. In game one, he did have 29 points, but he did so on 23 shots. And then, as I mentioned earlier, game two, he had just 17 points on 6 of 19 shooting. So he hasn't exactly had a stellar offensive night just yet in this series. Now, I'm not saying the Celtics should just abandon the strategy of sagging off of Josh Hart. I think Porzingis can really benefit from playing on Josh Hart because he's dealing with an illness. It's affecting his conditioning, and it might be a lot to ask out of him to be guarding Cat right now in the post or just getting in front of him on his drives. But when Al Horford is in the game, I like the idea of having Horford and Tatum matched up on Towns. We've actually seen those matchups go pretty well for the Celtics in this series, and I'd like to see them go to it a bit more when Porzingis is off the floor. Another thing I'd like to see the Celtics work on is their transition defense. They haven't been giving up tons of fast break or transition points to the Knicks, but as I touched on earlier in this video, there was a clip I showed where OG just snuck behind the defense and got an and one dunk. And here's another play where the Knicks get a rebound and they push the ball, and nobody on the Celtics knows who's guarding McBride, and he just gets a wide open trail three. There's also been a number of plays where Josh Hart has just pushed the ball aggressively and just taken advantage of the Celtics not being set on defense. And the thing is, if you're going to give up open threes to Josh Hart, put smaller defenders on Cat trying to box him out and contest his jumpers, you can't then afford to give easy shots in transition or allow Josh Hart to just push the ball and easily score at the rim. The good news for the Celtics is that they can tweak some of the issues they've been experiencing in the first two games, and there are also issues that they've been experiencing that are preventable. And then on top of that, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been awful the first two games for their standards, so they're due to probably have some good games as well. The thing is, the Knicks are showing that they're not going to make it easy at all for the Celtics. I'm sure the Celtics will try to put more of an emphasis on really driving the ball and attacking the rim, getting more movement off ball, setting screens, and really just trying to get the Knicks more in rotation than they have in the first two games. But still, I find it hard to believe that the Celtics are just going to completely figure out this Knicks defense, because even though everybody's been talking about the Celtics' poor three-point shooting and how they missed 45 threes in game one, and then followed that up by shooting 10 of 40 from three in game two, the Knicks didn't exactly have a good shooting night in game two either. They shot 9 for 31 from three, and through the first two games, Karl Anthony Towns hasn't even made a single three. So sure, the Celtics could change some ways they defend the Knicks in the half court. They could be better at preventing some transition opportunities for the Knicks. And while everybody's going to talk about these fourth quarter collapses the Celtics had, we have to give them credit for getting 20-point leads in the third quarter of each game. Even still, there's something to be said about a team just achieving momentum in a series. And right now, the New York Knicks seem to be very confident in themselves. They have all the momentum in the series. They have so much belief in themselves. Even if they were to go down in game 3 or game 4, they know that they could very well easily come back and get a win even if they fall behind in one of those games. So as I've touched on in this video, there are things I think the Celtics could improve, but at the same time, I'm still not favoring them in this series with how things have gone. Coming back from behind from 2-0 when you lost your first two games on your home floor is not an easy thing to do. And if I had to make a prediction, I would say that the New York Knicks are going to make their first Eastern Conference Finals since 2000. Anyways, that's going to be all for today's video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. With all of that being said, I'm out, and I'll see you in the next video.